Hey, what's up, Matt? We got
What?
roundtable sessions live coming at you tonight, and
What's up, dude?
got my host Chris Bookman and myself, Ron Menser. We're just sort of hanging around the table tonight. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's a hot summer day, and
No doubt.
we're here to talk about one of my favorite subjects of all time. It's not duck hunting. We're gonna dive into the world of heavy metal.
We're gonna heavy metal lives on, man. It lives on
Yeah,
in our hearts, and anybody that's been exposed to metal and has gravitated towards it, it shapes you a little bit.
yeah. And coincidentally and tragically, today, as we're recording this, July 22nd, Ozzy Osbourne passed away. So we're gonna try to throw some cheers and horns up for him and tell some metal stories in his honor tonight. Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll pour one out for my homie.
Yeah. So
All right,
yeah,
let's bring together other guys around the table,
for
and
sure. Let's go.
let's start with Josh. Josh, what's going on, man?
Howdy, guys.
The
Yeah,
brochacho.
sad day in the metal world today. But I'm excited to talk about music. I mean, this is something different for us.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to dive into this big part of our lives growing up, Josh, and then our guest that we have coming on. I've been friends with for 20 years, and we reconnected on social media a little bit. So, Ron, you want to bring my dude Matt on here?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, Matt,
Matt, what's
welcome to the
up,
show.
bro?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's really cool.
Yeah,
It's
dude.
actually the first podcast I've ever done, actually.
Yeah,
So it's really cool.
it
Well, you'll
sucks. We
never
just
do
hit.
another one like this again. I mean, we're one of a kind.
Right.
Yeah, and it sucks, but it's also cool that we're going to do it today, right? Of all days, that we're going to get into some stuff. Before we dive into stuff, Matt, give us your bio. Tell us what you're doing, who you're playing with. Longtime musician friend of mine that
Sure.
reconnecting with you, dude.
Yeah, so I've been playing music live for over 20 years now. Most recently and most prominently with the band Deceased. I've been a live guitar player for 9 years now. Played all across North America. I've been to Mexico, been to Peru, done a lot of. They were one of my favorite bands before I joined, so it's been a real honor and a pleasure to play with Ceased. Also, in the past 5-6 years, joined up with a newer band called Nuclear Tomb from the Baltimore area. I've been playing with them. Kind of similar music to Deceased, thrash death style. We're writing an album right now. I've done other musical projects over the years, as well as in a band called my first band. It was in college. It was called Burning Shadows. That's where I basically met Chris when his band Darkness Foretold and Burning Shadows played shows together. Moved on to a band called Relentless for a few months. It was a very kind of tumultuous time. It went very quickly. Then I, for a couple of years, also had a band called Acid Queen. We did new wave of British heavy metal covers. We did Saxon and Diamond Head, and bands like that. Angel Witch, Tigers of Pantang, and then got the opportunity to join a band called October 31 that was fronted by deceased singer King Fowley, who so I played with the October 31 for from 2011 up until this past year when we basically officially disbanded. And during that time, I was able to join with Deceased when they needed a live guitar player. So it's been pretty wild ride. Own I think 5 Explorer shaped guitars and a bunch of other ones.
Heck yeah. Are all the legends about the king true?
Pretty much, at least all the stories I've heard. He's definitely uh, an intense, passionate person that takes the music very seriously, and he's uh, one of the best song, like in the death metal kind of world, death thrash metal world, is like one of the best songwriters and arrangers. And I've had great times with him and all the rest of the band members, past and present, with Deceased. So
That's cool.
definitely one quick funny story about King is that for whatever reason, he likes to drink milk and a lot of it. So he'll keep a gallon jug like alongside the bed, and he'll just like sit out all night, and we just laugh about it, and it's forever whatever that just keeps him moving. So, but I've been really fortunate to play alongside him and alongside a lot of other great people over the years.
There's far worse vices than some milk by your bed.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The heavy metal world, right? So I remember hearing back in the day my friends that were getting us into music, and probably, I don't want to say pre-internet days, but very early internet, where they're showing you CDs and they're like, check this band out. And I was always a big fan of Death.
Yeah,
anything that had a name like that, right? Megadeth and Death and Napalm Death and stuff. And my dudes were like, check this band out. They're called Deceased. And I was like, I'm in. Sign me up, and then to like kind of know somebody that is playing for them and get to see you enjoying that still that's gnarly for me to watch you and watch your adventures with them, dude. It's pretty fucking cool. So
I try. Yeah. Well, thank you. I try to chronicle as best I can. I'm not a huge capturing every moment on social media or anything like that, but I try to do like highlights and take photos wherever I can get. Like if I think the first time I went to see Deceased as a fan was in 2008 at the Velvet Lounge in DC, and so it was a real small place. And of course, so I'm there, and like I think I was 2008, so I was 24, I think. And so I had just this little whatever tuft of a goatee that I had, and of course I'm standing there, and he reaches over, and grabs the goatee, as he's playing. And so over the years, like that hasn't changed, whether or not I'm a fan or if I'm standing, on stage, up on there with him. So it's a good place to be.
That's cool for sure. So, one of the things that we do on this RoundTable podcast is, Ron and I want to get people's brains working, right? We want to take you back memory lane. We want to, get nostalgia going. We want to talk about conspiracies, stuff that really gets you thinking while you're driving to work or you're sitting around the fire. So that's the point of this tonight, man. I'm a list maker. Josh, I think you're probably the same way. We get that from our dad. We make lists of stuff. And if you find me on my phone, I'm either texting Ron or Josh, or I'm on Spotify making a playlist. So that's what we're kind of trying to do this. So whether you like heavy metal, whether you like classical music or whatever you like, the point of this is we're going to talk about a couple different things. When we get into the meat and potatoes of this, we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite heavy metal riffs. I think, Matt, you got 10.
It's hard to narrow them down. Yeah.
Yeah, being the guitar player. So
I put a lot of thought into that, and it is hard to narrow them down.
It's hard for sure. So as we're getting into this, the whole podcast kind of was inspired by, and Josh has been there, Ron, you've been there. We have bonfires at my house, and we have these fire talks, right?
Sure.
And we just trying to kind of bring the family together, bring friends together over topics and stuff. So one of the things that we do is we'll pick a topic early on in the week, and we'll text it to people, hey, so what we're going to talk about. So obviously being into music in general and being into metal, I wanted to really get into that with this show.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I want to talk to you, and we'll start with Ron and we'll go around the thing. When you hear the term heavy metal, what do you think of? Like what comes to mind? Is it, these ominous images? Is it like the spooky stuff that your parents told you not to listen to, whatever? So Ron, hear the term heavy metal. What do you think of, bro?
Yeah. So for me, when I hear heavy metal, I almost there's like this distinction in my mind of what people think heavy metal is and what I think heavy metal. Like I got into more like the death metal, the heavier side of this with some of the bands that I listened to when I was in high school and stuff. And, heavy metal's a broad term. Heavy metal, like to some people, like AC/DC was heavy metal in the day, or, Iron Maiden is heavy metal in the day, but for me, when someone says heavy metal, like I'm thinking more like bands like Slayer and Pantera and, more, Buck the System, a little bit more rage and aggression. But the term really speaks to or the genre it's broad brushstrokes, man. It can touch so many different generations. I was even thinking of like the 80s or the 90s. I shot Chris a text when we were talking about this show, like what exactly are we targeting here, and what we're going to discuss. Are we talking 80s metal? Are we talking 90s metal? Are we talking current metal? Like, so I think it's a broad brush stroke, but I think heavy metal, I think of like Slayer. I think of Pantera. Like those are like the bands that I dug growing up. And, I have an appreciation. Like here's the answer in short, to say it very shortly. It's not what you hear on the radio.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Growing up, Ron and I are similar ages, born in early 80s. Our dad, Josh, and I grew up very religious. You guys have heard us talk about that. So, I remember going from our little tiny country elementary school that we went to, that was very like what you see in like a 90s movie about where kids go to elementary school, right? To then we went to like, sorry.
It was close enough we could ride our bikes to it.
Right. I mean, we could be like three ninjas and ride our bikes to school if we wanted, right? And, then when we went to middle school, you rode the bus and we actually went into town, and it really wasn't like a city, but it was a big difference for Josh and I. So I remember sixth grade was such a big thing, because that's when I started seeing kids that weren't wearing like all the clothes that their mom got them at JCPenney. I say this because there was a kid every single day for like the first month. He had a different Metallica shirt on. I didn't know what it was. I'm just like, that's cool. Right. So that always comes to mind when people say metal. Again, growing up then the 90s, when someone says like heavy metal to me, I think of like White Zombie. Not so much their music, but that image, that kind of scary, that industrial kind of black, and they're wearing the cowboy hat and just creepy with the imagery that Rob and all those guys came up with. So that's where my brain goes out of that. So what about you, Matt? Where you go when you hear that term, bro?
Yeah, I think the genreification has gotten, I want to say, out of hand, but there's a lot going on. So I feel like the term heavy metal for me defines more of a classic 70s bands that started like 70s proto metal up through 80s, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and then I think metal is even just saying metal instead of heavy metal is even more broad, like bringing like Ron was saying, Slayer and Pantera and things like that. But I do think that there's an underground element too with death metal and some of the more extreme metal that has evolved from some bands that kind of toe the line, like that I would consider kind of pioneers of the genre, like Scorpions and Thin Lizzy, which maybe wouldn't be considered heavy metal per se, but they definitely still have that element, and it goes all the way from there to the most extreme music that you can think of. I always, I'm not saying I try not to put limits on the extreme side of things, because I feel like that's how other people outside looking in do. But I have my preferences in terms of like what I like to listen to, and like we're going to talk about soon, like everything that pretty much everything that I like that is associated with metal is very riff driven, and also have a lot of appreciation for guitar solos and good guitar playing and vocals, both harsh and clean vocals as well. I think the genre encapsulates that very well. So yeah, it's heavy metal is definitely, I think I think one can distinguish between heavy metal and heavy music, because heavy music doesn't necessarily encompass heavy metal, but I think all heavy metal is essentially heavy music. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
I heard. Go ahead, Ron.
Let me hop in, because just one of the things that Matt was saying, it was making me think, like, there's a difference between the musician and their appreciation for the art form.
Yep.
Looking at the art, listening to the art, taking it in, versus a consumer.
Yes.
That's just consuming what's being presented to them. And so there's a distinction there.
I heard one time a guy, and it kind of, in a good way, ruined some music for me that was talking about metal and just hard rock and just aggressive music in general, and we can get into this later, but heavy music could be like what you said, right? Could be AC/DC, could be the Misfits, or could be, even there's the Beatles wrote some heavy stuff on, the White Album with Helter's, just some heavy stuff on it. There's some heavy lyrics in old
Mhm.
country songs. I mean, I say this a lot. Johnny Cash wrote, "I shot a man just to watch him die." That's pretty heavy if you really think about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But like, it's such a broad term that it can apply to different things. But a guy one time I heard say, it's not heavy if you can't scream without having the emotion behind it or meaning something. So a lot of the new techie stuff, and Matt, you might agree with this,
Yeah.
I don't get down on because I don't feel like it has feeling to it. It might be heavy and distorted,
Yep.
and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think just because something is heavy from a heavy sonically, from like a production standpoint, like exactly what you're talking about, I don't really think it falls into the like the metal genre.
Yeah.
I do think the Encyclopedia Metallum does a pretty good job of defining what is like what they consider heavy metal, or what could they consider a metal band. If they don't put a profile up if they don't feel like a band is heavy metal, like
That's cool.
with I think like it goes as far as like certain bands that are of the gent genre they don't include because they feel like that's outside the realm, and I would say that's heavy music likely, but not what they call heavy metal. And on the other end of the spectrum, like Led Zeppelin is not, or an AC/DC aren't included on that site because you have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Josh, hit me with yours, dude. What are you
Mhm.
what are you thinking about there?
Attitude.
Yeah.
Man, when you hear the term heavy metal, you think about attitude. Most of the time, you're thinking about some pissed off dude who wants to smash his head through a wall or something like that. But I mean, we grew up in a time when Columbine happened. Was there real bad audio on my headphones?
No, you sound
You're
good.
fine, man. You sound good to
Okay.
us.
Yeah. When Columbine happened, I mean, that put like a black label across metal for a lot of people. So that was one of those things that we kind of grew up with. That was one of those battles we had to fight. But I learned who Rammstein was because of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with that. So when I hear the term metal, I think of like a attitude era of music, like WWE had the attitude era. That's what I think of when I hear the term metal.
Yeah. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. You want to do the whole list, Ron, or you want to do one at a time, or what do you want to do, bro?
Hey, man, however you want to do it. Like, I mean, let's just start with, and we'll go reverse, I guess. We'll start with you, Josh, and then we'll come
Okay.
back around the table again. But like your first exposure,
That's
like
a
what
good
was
one.
your
Oh man,
first exposure to metal?
that guy, Chris. Yeah, 8th grade. I remember riding to school in the Thunderbird,
86
and we
Thunderbird.
were
That was my first car.
yes
Pretty cool.
sir, and we were listening to Master of Puppets, the album on the way to school, the old tape deck. I remember that. I remember David Ollinger, a friend of ours, made fun of me for drawing the Metallica logos on our binders. So that would be probably my first real exposure to heavy music. Our dad grew up listening to like some Christian hair metal, some like Christian hard rock and stuff. So we were always into the more fast paced music and stuff like that growing up. Am I diving into my riff list now? Because this is
Hold off. I want
Yeah,
to get
we'll get
everybody's
there.
experience
Yeah.
first,
okay.
and then
Yes, Matt.
because I'm interested in hearing who. I want to see how much crossover there is in our top 5, top 10s.
What led you down this path, Matt? How'd you get here?
Actually, similar story. In a way, I grew up in a. I didn't have really a lot of like musical exposure when I was a kid. Didn't have. My parents didn't really bring any influence into it wasn't like I know friends who have parents who were just playing like they grew up listening to metal all day. It wasn't like that for me. I basically started in the grunge era. I heard what was on DC 101. Again, I liked more found that I liked more fast paced music, and thought that I was at the time was just a consumer of music, whatever was on the radio at the time. And then I had a friend at school in I think it was 7th grade, and then going into 8th grade, he wore a Metallica shirt to school, and I heard some Metallica, kind of just in passing, and didn't really think much of it because I didn't dig into the genre much. Then he wore a different Metallica shirt like every day, or at least every week. So finally I was like, hey, check this out. And so again, it was Master of Puppets on cassette, listening in his basement one night, and it was a transformative experience. I think the first time it was the first time I had a sort of an epiphany of hearing a song like Master of Puppets, a title track, going into with the first couple verses and going into that clean midsection and building it back up, and then hearing Master again. I'm like, this is the same song. Like I didn't think that people wrote music like that. And so that was a really big thing for me to hear how just how dense and how expressive that album was for me. And that's kind of how I got into it. And from there on started, I think I got one of those BMG music subscriptions where you got 15 CDs for the price of one. And so I started doing stuff off of there. So that's where I got Black Sabbath Paranoid. I got a lot of I think I got my first Death album that way. I still have a lot of those CDs, but it was just easy to look through a catalog and see where what looked like it was cool, or what I was hearing about. Again, this was like internet days. Internet was in its infancy, so kind of had to and then metal in the late 90s was not what it is today in terms of you go everywhere and hear and see and hear things now. And now this was more of a a very even more niche in the late 90s than it is now.
Yeah. It's funny you say that about that catalog, because our dad gave us one. It was owned by Columbia, but they actually had like a Christian thing too, and you could get both things. But we got all kinds of that. But I remember in the early 2000s, this isn't my first exposure, but you could actually write Relapse Records, and they would send you like a catalog.
Yep.
And you could go through and it's almost like you're a construction worker, and you could find the invoice numbers and order these crazy LPs and different things. But growing up for me, like, our dad always had, and I've said this on a couple other podcasts, always had music on, always had radio on. From a young age, just hearing guitar-driven stuff, or hearing some guy pick a solo, whether it's country music or whether it's some kind of light contemporary rock, just that drove me. I remember my mom back in the day, I think I told this one recently too, she would go into stores when you could leave kids in the car and it was okay to leave them in the car for a minute. So I would turn the radio, and I remember hearing Wherever I May Roam, like clear at start to finish, just perfect time. That just grabbed a hold of me, musically. And then just for me, just wanting to get heavier and more aggressive. That was my exposure to it. I remember, I've said this before too, our dad gave me this stuff to read about how evil stuff was, how evil some of this music was, little pamphlets. And remember, it had the Kiss logo and the Slayer logo and Black Sabbath, and it also had the Grateful Dead logo on it. And I was like, I would always see their symbols, and I would see their stickers, and I'm like, these guys have to be awesome because that logo is sick. And then the first time you hear it, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Ew. And it, talent-wise, they're good. It just was never my cup of tea. But just as soon as I had a little pocket radio or Walkman and I could listen to stuff, I mean, the radio, Josh will tell you, just music has just grabbed me since then. And I just wanted to just envelop it, like how people want to be a biker or they want to live a life like metal. That was my life, like I just wanted to be that dude. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So hit me, Ron.
All right, so it's cool when you go forth because you get to hear everybody else's story and background. And much like Matt, I didn't have my folks they did not influence my musical taste. Like I didn't get a whole lot of culture growing up from the music. You know, I remember when I was young, I remember like turning the dial, just trying to find a radio station that wasn't a country radio station because that's all we listened to, you know, in my place. And, you know, finding different genres of music, you know, just exploring as a kid and having appreciation. Like there are options out there or something. So I'll get to like my first exposure and what that looked like. But I want to tell a story real quick because I was at a party one time. I was probably late teenager, you know, about 20 years old, something like that. And this guy's, we're talking about, you guys had mentioned Metallica, which Metallica was heavily influenced a lot of us that grew up in the area that we grew up in, if you dig this type of music. And he said he remembered the first time he went into a record store and he saw a Metallica album, and he said to his friends, he's like, "Hey man, you're never gonna guess, but I found this new band called Metallica." and they're awesome. So he's like, I got to get this Metallica record. And I always think of that when I think of Metallica because, you know, go back to the original question, like, what do you think of whenever you think metal? Like, it's like garage bands, man. It's like just guys just going after it unconventionally, right? And I know you guys appreciate like an unconventional approach to things and things. So, you know, I remember when I was young, and I was like discovering different radio stations that were out there and stuff. You know, I wasn't exposed to like the early Metallica, like Master of Puppets, and you know, all those great albums that I fell in love with once I went down that rabbit hole. But I remember like hearing Enter Sandman on the radio, like getting radio play, and I'm like, this is cool. Like this is and this will like take us right into riffs, but like this is an awesome riff. This music is grooving, and I remember my sister, who is older than me, she's like, "You're pretty young to be liking that music," and I'm like, "No, man, but it's cool." You know, you just
For sure.
if you like it, you like it, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd say that was probably early on exposure. And then, you know, once you start seeking that out, you find the bands that you really like and the music that you really dig. But two cool stories about Metallica.
I'll tell one more real quick, and then we'll get into the list. I remember, and Matt, you probably know this growing up around here. Josh and I, where we lived, though, on the north part of the county, we got Pennsylvania radio stations, too.
Yeah.
So we had 98 Rock from Baltimore and 105.7 The X, right? And that was a Pennsylvania rock station. And I think at the time, 98 Rock every night at 9 or 10 played a mandatory Metallica.
Yep.
But every Monday, this Pennsylvania station would play one too. And generally, the one in Pennsylvania would do like deep cuts, or live stuff. So I would always tape it, and I remember listening to it one day, and Creeping Death came on, and it was from the live album, Live in Seattle, right?
Yep.
And they do the big, doing the bridge. And Jason Newsted's playing the bass, whatever, and then just the bass, and James is getting the crowd revved up, and he just starts saying "die," and then the whole crowd is doing that chant, right?
That
and I'm
literally.
like, I'm like, oh my god, that guy's saying "die." I didn't know what to do. Like I couldn't sit still. Like I was like, I gotta walk around. I gotta do something. Like, you know, and you know, I've just been hooked on that stuff. It's the bee's knees,
Right.
I was literally going to tell the exact same story. Although I thought that was off of the live shit binge and purge.
Yeah, that's where.
Box
I'm
set.
Mexico City. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The Seattle one I've been listening to is on the Injustice for All remaster.
I remember listening to that, Chris. This is going to take you back. I remember listening to that on that Tower double cassette CD player
with the glass doors.
Yes, sir.
Listen, I'm gonna tell one more Metallica story.
We all just got a visual. We all just got a visual, Josh.
Yeah. First off, anybody that knows me, and I know we're talking a lot about Metallica, I was like gaily obsessed with them in high school. Like I had a Metallica border from Record and Tape Traders in my bedroom. I had anything you could have with them on it, I had. I worked on my grandfather's farm. Josh worked there at one point too. And our grandfather was a hard ass. But if you worked hard, he would reward you. And he would not give you exact change. So for instance, if he owed me 75 bucks, but he only had $100 bill, he's going to give you $100 bill. And you just knew that you earned it, or you might do a little bit more the next day. He gave me $100 bill one day. I needed to get a new battery for my car at the time. I got a fresh hundo in my hand. Where do I go? Record and Tape Traders, and I bought that Metallica box set.
Yep.
Okay? Walking out of the store, this big, looks like the travel roadie box, right? It's under my arm. Yeah, I got it. Go to get in my car won't start. I'm like, crap. I got to call my dad. So I go in, and this is like, I don't have a cell phone. I'm using a payphone, calling my dad. My dad drives the 20, 25 minutes there. Just like a typical dad story. When he gets there, the car starts right up anyways. And he goes, okay, what happened to that $100? And I'm like, well, about that. So that always sticks with me. So, Matt, we'll start with you. Hit us with your list, dude. Roll through it. Let's see what we got, dude.
We do the top 5 riffs.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, cool. So I'll do. I did kind of in reverse order, but they're all pretty close. And I kind of approached this in a way that for riffs that kind of just like over the years grabbed me, because you could have I could probably have a totally different list of like influence in terms of like actual riffs and notoriety. Like obviously like the Black Sabbath, the title song, that riff on there would be a big one too. But so like just brainstorming, because when you told me that you wanted to do this list, like I love stuff like this. I live like for the riff. And
you actually inspired it. You posted something years ago on your Facebook, and you were like, check this riff out. I think it might have been a Testament. I don't remember what it was. Testament sticks out, and you were like, check this out. And you put like the exact time and place of this note or riff. And I was like, it really got my brain rolling. Okay, that's cool. I'd like to start. And then when I hit you up about it, you were like, dude, I am into this.
Yeah. So
fire away, dude.
And so while these will probably be pretty familiar, but for the top 5, number 5 is Holy Wars by Megadeth. The whole song is great, but particularly the bridge part, they call it the punishment due, when it goes into the like the second phase of the song after the that sort of Arabian solo sounding. I just think that riff really grabs me. It makes a hair stand up on my arms, and it's just a powerful part. But it was a really early on song for me that stood out one of the first ones I heard when I got into into Megadeth, and so that stuck with me a lot. They've got a lot of good riffs. It's hard to nail down riffs. I mean, you could think about it for a long time, but I figured that one had a lot to do with how I approach things with my own songwriting and just how I hear things, how I hear music as well. Number 4 is Altar of Sacrifice by Slayer. Again, tons of good riffs there, but the main one for me is that the first riff as it kicks in after the drum fill, and then the chorus one. Like I feel like the chorus, it sounds like a pack of wild hyenas tearing up prey. Like it's really kind of a quick thing that's going on, but for Slayer, it's really just because of how quickly that it's played and how vicious it is. But that one stood out for me on Rain Blood, which is probably for most people the definitive Slayer album. I would say everything up through and including Seasons in the Abyss has its moments. But number 3, we have to go with Battery by Metallica. I think the entire intro, the build up there with the acoustic harmonies, and then it kicking in and just having that payoff with the galloping riff, it still makes the hair stand up on my arms. It set the stage for stuff that is was really aggressive, and it still is it's as heavy as pretty much anything on any, like I would say, any death metal album. It's just more of like not just sonically, but just the intensity and the aggression that they threw out there, and it's just kind of one of Metallica's most aggressive songs on, like, to me, they're my favorite album by them. And so number 2, switching gears a little bit, Sales of Charon by Scorpions. The main kind of riff theme in that song is really and that leads into the guitar solo is just such a real catchy riff that I feel like that's a song that I feel like I'm hearing it. It's such an experience. Like, I feel like I'm hearing it for the first time every time I listen to it. Yeah. Just a really cool song. Again, something that is like on the edge of metal and hard rock, but again, another band that has inspired so much over the years. They're celebrating their 60th anniversary, and which is just insane.
It's incredible.
Have you ever seen the Scorpions?
Yeah.
I have. I saw them at the M3 Fest. I think it was 2010, and I also got to see them in Vegas 2022 at one of the residencies that they were doing. Very cool. We got general, like, the floor tickets were right up close. It was phenomenal for guys that are in their 70s. Really great show they still put on. So I would hopefully I'll get to see them again at some point, because I would.
I saw them open up for Deep Purple and Dio.
Awesome.
It was cool, and legitimately it was outside, and legitimately when they played Rock You Like a Hurricane, it rained, and people went like insane.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
get a moment like that just stands out in your head. It's like awesome.
Carry on, dude. What else you got?
Sure.
Number one.
That was one of these that just really just jumped out at me, that like probably not on everyone's like on everyone's fingertips, but it's Corpse Without a Soul by Merciful Fate. The part that
I didn't even think about Merciful Fate, dude.
And it's the part that and I wouldn't know anything, going back to Metallica, I wouldn't know anything about Merciful Fate if it wasn't for Metallica and Garage Inc. But the part that comes in when of that part of the song, that the riff is so catchy, and it's like, it's kind of a traditional metal riff, and it's got that bluesy kind of descending run, and it's so catchy. So, like, if I had to pick like one riff that stood out in my mind as the best riff, that one does it for me. And
I used to wear a Merciful Fate shirt when we played a lot.
Right. Yep.
I didn't even think about them. That's a good list, dude. We'll come back around for the rest of them. Ron, what you got? Sure. Dude, hit me with yours.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm a Pantera, I'm a Slayer guy, so in no particular order.
Man. You're a man's man.
I like to describe myself as a guy's guy. I am a man's man. So thank you for that. So listen, when I think Pantera, I was thinking like, all right, I can't put them on the list 5 times, but I struggle because like noticeable people that know Walk, right? When you think Pantera, the song Walk. It's got a riff that it's just like, it's grungy, it's heavy, it's mean as hell. But I also I think about early exposure. The Cowboys to Hell is a song that, so it would be toss up between Walk or Cowboys to Hell would be my Pantera choice. Okay. Incredible guitar play, incredible vocals, incredible, drumming. Like, I just loved them when they were on it. I would say from Slayer, like Rain and Blood, like that would be my Slayer song.
Okay.
1986 Slayer. It would be like a definitive album for them, and influential in my walk of falling in love with metal music. Symphony of Destruction, very good. I mean, Mustaine was incredible with Megadeth. He was awesome with Metallica. But when I think Megadeth, I think Symphony of Destruction. I would hit. This is one that, when I was thinking, I've got some honorable mentions that I won't bring up, but Sepultura, Roots,
Yeah.
Bloody Roots.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of like what would be a fringe one that I haven't heard in a long time, you know. So and then you got to throw some sort of a Metallica song in there. So whether it's Master of Puppets, that would probably be. I really like Battery though, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll throw out Master of Puppets as my Metallica mention. Although I think that they had a lot of their early stuff was like incredible, and so those are my top five. Pantera,
Josh, before
Slayer, Megadeth, Sepultura, and a Metallica.
everything you said though, and it could be kind of on the nose like you mentioned, but that's all stuff that like when you hear it though, you're like instantly right there. And whether
Yep.
they're overplayed tracks or
Right.
the point of all that is, I got an AC/DC shirt on. When you hear AC/DC, I don't care if it's the same song you've heard 1,000 times, you turn the radio up and you put your windows down usually, right? Walk and Roots and all that stuff. That's what that is.
Yep.
Symphony of Destruction, you might skip it on your CD player, but if it's on the radio or on, you're walking through a club and it's playing on, you're throwing the horns up, right? So Josh, hit us with yours, dude.
Real quick, one of my favorite things to do, even still, was on the radio. When you hear that first bell, is try to decipher whether it's For Whom the Bell Tolls or Hell's Bells.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one of my favorite things to do. All right. So real quick, in my mind, when I hear or when you guys said guitar riffs, noted ones that we like, I had a hard time, but like in my mind, it's the riff that grabs you at the beginning of a song. So I'm gonna throw a Black Sabbath song out there first for Ozzy today. Sweet Leaf. It's one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So y'all know that riff right off the bat. So I'm gonna say that that's on there. I gotta throw my favorite band of all time out there, Lamb of God. Descending.
Solid.
Oh man. That whole album, Chris, Matt was talking about Master of Puppets changing his life. That was the Lamb of God Sacrament album. I remember sitting in our house in Pleasant Valley, Josh Davis throw out. And that was the first time I had ever heard Lamb of God. Yeah. And God, he was talking about a life-changing experience. That's what that was for me.
But that was so like formative for I know we're brothers and we talk about this kind of stuff, but that was so formative for me and you, living on our own. You were living with me. I was in the band. We're kind of becoming adults, and then that was right. And Matt can co-sign this. That's right when that new wave of American heavy metal's coming out. And those crushing albums. These bands are bringing back this stuff, and Lamb of God was kind of getting away from that weird kind of techie, kind of hardcore-y stuff they first kind of came out with. Into more like that Pantera-driven, riff-driven blues, and even Zeppelin influence, like their take on it,
Totally.
And,
they were at the time the heir to Pantera's throne, I think. Coming up, I saw Lamb of God at Jack's in 2001, I believe. They opened for Pantera and I'm sorry, not Pantera. They opened for The Haunted and Witchery, like basically two brother bands. So they were like third down on the bill at the time.
Wow.
It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. We were like 25, 30 people there. So saw them like right before they broke. I knew had some friends who saw them as Burn the Priest in Richmond and everything. And so it seemed like they've always been not only as the band that they blew up to be, but seemed to be pretty down to earth dudes overall, especially Randy.
Side note, cliff note, anybody listening still, listen to Witchery's Witch Creek album. It's awesome.
Yeah. Second that.
Okay.
Kerry King plays a solo on there. It rips.
Nice.
Go ahead, Joshua.
Okay. Where was I at? I have to throw a Metallica song on there. I like Blackened a lot. Oh man, so it's so good. Anyway, all right. Number two, we're gonna go Pantera. Domination.
I knew you were gonna
so space.
Oh my gosh, man, right off the bat, the song kicks in and it's just in your face. So I know Ozzy today is one of those days that sad in the heavy metal world. Chris, I remember another very vivid sad day in the heavy metal world was the day we were working at the nursery and it came across the radio that Dimebag died, and
Yep.
If my memory serves me correct, you left work. You were like, I gotta go. Like this, I can't do this today.
I probably did. It was probably just one of
Yeah.
those days that I was like, okay, this is sad. I can probably use this to get out of working. I'm outie.
Yep. Okay. Now my list is not in order by any sense of the means. Like these are not because so hard for me to. I listen to so much music. It's hard for me to nail down my favorite one. But I'm just gonna throw out Kill Switch Engage. The End of Heartache. Ooh, when that
Solid.
song kicks in, I mean, right after the clean intro, and then he kicks in with that, and it just drops. Oh man, it gets my blood pumping.
Heck yeah.
Great list.
All right, metal guy, it's your turn.
All right, I'm going to start off with an honorable mention because of what happened today. And Matt's wearing the shirt. That whole album, No Rest for the Wicked, is a riff machine.
Yes.
Every single song from
Glad you
start
agree.
to finish
Awesome.
is just, I mean, even Miracle Man to
Yep.
Bloodbath in Paradise, Tattooed Dancer, like all that stuff. That whole album is cool. My list, real quick, man. Number 5, going 5 to number 1. Postmortem by Slayer. When they kick into the second riff, that part there. To me, like the riffs I picked were stuff that makes you want to swing your head.
Love it.
That part there is just like crushing. And you also know the build up for Rain and Blood's coming.
Yep.
So like it's just this whole thing, and anything Slayer. I mean, I'm just a Slayer fiend, behind the crooked cross, and I love South of Heaven. That whole album, I think it's just gnarly. But second one, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Metallica. The second or third riff, Matt, where he's going gang 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 gang. I mean, as a kid, I remember like all I could think of was like a shark. It made me think of like Jaws in the water.
Dude.
And it was another time where like I couldn't sit still. So to this day, when I hear that, I'm just like, let's go. Number 3, Matt, you're gonna dig this. I love the Scorpions. I'm like a huge Scorpions fan. Blackout. Scorpions,
yeah.
dude. The chorus riff, like that is just, and it's kind of what you said. It's not crazy heavy or crushing. It's just this cool rhythm. It's just cool. Let's jam up the chorus. Let's jam up this melody. That's my number 3. As I started getting older and getting into death metal and stuff, I've told this story a couple times, but Matt, you'll get a kick out of this too. My sister-in-law, my older brother's wife, who are they're 11 or 12 years older than us, she gave me a tape that somebody had given her, and it said "Death, Scream Bloody Cow." Didn't say "Scream Bloody Gore." I legitimately think, I wish I still had it. I legitimately think it was a tape from the early tape trading days that someone had passed along.
Wow.
And what happened to that? But I got real into the band Death. I love the album Leprosy. Like that whole thing is awesome. And the riff, it's just straight, just fast guitar and Left to Die.
Yeah.
Where they're just straight, just down, just ticket, You know what I'm talking about, Matt?
Yep.
Like it's just, to this day, if that comes on, I'm like, I don't play guitar, but I play the steering wheel and I play the shit out of it. And I'm that guy. And then listen, I know we talked about it and it's cheesy, and I got a bunch of honorable mentions. There is nothing heavier, there is nothing cooler, and there is nothing as gnarly as Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath. When you first hear that, you just, there's more technical stuff and there's more technically tuned stuff, but when you hear that, it is like that tritone note, right? It is just like the gnarliest thing. And Matt, what was that back in the day? I know we all used to watch it and talk about it. What was that documentary that was made by that guy in Canada? Do you know what I'm talking about? He did like a metal documentary. It's like Banger Films. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There's one called Metal: A Headbanger's Journey.
That's where it is. Yep,
okay.
That's where it is. Yeah. This guy like actually lays out how it came to be in all these genres, and they talk about the writing of that. I'll get into my kind of honorable mentions real quick. I mean, to me, and for no reason, this song is like crushingly heavy. "We Die Young" by Alice in Chains
Oh yeah,
is like just ripping. I mean, it's a short song that you wish was
yeah,
longer.
yeah. Me too.
Matt, you're gonna dig this one, "The Trooper" by Iron
Oh yeah,
Maiden. I mean,
yep.
who you can't not. I saw Iron Maiden with Dio one time too. I saw
Yep.
Motorhead, Dio, and Iron Maiden, and that was just it was like too much for me to handle.
See,
Um,
Fuel's
Symphony of
battle
Destruction's,
cries for air guitars.
yeah, Symphony of Destruction's on my list too because it's just one of those. Um, Pantera, anything by Pantera, really.
Yeah.
yeah,
Far Beyond Driven. That's just a crushing album. I'm gonna throw a weird one out there. There's two. I'm not a huge fan of this band, but Soundgarden has two songs. They have one called "Slaves and Bulldozers" that just has this just crushingly, just doomy, heavy riff, and then you've heard it 1,000 times on the radio. But the main riff in "Outshined"
Yeah.
is just stupidly heavy. It's just stupidly heavy metal. So those are my mentions. Whoever wants to go next, hit us with them, dude. Keep it rolling. I'm getting pumped right now.
I'm surprised
Okay.
how little like it just speaks to the breadth and the depth of this genre that we are all listing like top faves, and we're all saying they're hard to choose, and we haven't had that much duplicate crossover yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get one more honorable mention. I love Amon Amarth, and it's not one of my favorite songs, but their song "Pursuit of Vikings," that riff in there is just it
it's
makes you want to get in a boat and go
it.
pillaging.
It literally, I call that my murder song. Like when I'm in a bad mood and like that, oh, it gets me going. That was one of my honorable mentions. Was the Pursuit of Viking.
Yeah,
Um, I
I
have
know
a
you
couple
got a
honor.
bunch more. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh man, I have so many, Chris. This was a tough thing. The entire Lamb of God Sacrament album needs to just be on the list. I mean, because it's Walk with Me, it's Hell. It's Walk with Me in Hell. Foot to Throat, Pathetic, Redneck, which is probably their most famous song of all time. Um, but I mean, God, that whole album needs to be on there. Avenged Sevenfold has some killer riffs. Hail to the King when that first kicks in. Shepherd of Fire when all that kicks in. Um, but I mean, you can't leave out Testament.
Yeah.
You can't
Testament's
leave
on my
out.
top five. That was like a common factor for all of us back in the day, Matt. Me, you, Josh Davis, Joe Holt. Testament was like the thing.
Yeah, my testament that I had for honorable mention is Fall of Discipledom from The Gathering. Like to
Yes.
me, like I love Alex Skolnick, all that, especially all the Alex Skolnick stuff. But The Gathering is my favorite Testament album, and I think Fall of Discipledom has just, especially at the end where he does the crazy palm muting stuff too. And that song also has a really great solo played by Eric Peterson. It's one of those that he creates a mood with it in a way like I've got something. It sounds like to me, the when you listen to that, the way it slows down, it's like it might sound kind of weird to be thinking it as you're watching a film, like, oh my God, there's something crawling on my skin, and then he moves it up an octave. He's like, oh, they're all over me. That's kind of how that passage evolves for me. So I really dig that song in particular, and that whole album. To me, it's a perfect album.
Yeah, DNR,
DNR,
3 Days of Darkness. Oh my gosh, dude! Like that was for me and Matt kind of remembers a little bit, but like that's what like vocally and like we were trying to kind of emulate that with our band back in the day, like his patterns of how he sang with the rhythms of the drums and stuff. I mean, that was just the coolest thing to me. So keep it rolling, dudes. What else we got?
I'll give a shout out to I'll say Darkness Foretold. Like as far as Darkness Foretold, Devastation of the Lights, probably one of the most brutal thrash songs to come out of the Maryland ever. Like I have a demo CD of that somewhere, and I'll throw it on sometimes. It's definitely a really crushing thrash song. Definitely
that means a lot.
That stands out for me.
I don't have anything from those days.
All right.
I have a couple things on my old iPod, and that's it. I'm actually still friends with Neely, who did our sound.
Yep.
And he like actually recorded. Actually reminded me a lot of Ron. He was real into tech stuff and just gear and keeping track and records and stuff. But he actually recorded most of our practices and shows. So he's got a bunch of stuff. I just got to go take a hard drive or something and go get it from him. But that means a lot, dude. You warm my old man heart up there.
Another honorable mention is I really like the Symbolic album by Death, and then specifically the Empty Words, the chorus. It's one of those that you kind of made a catchy song out of a death metal, out of a death metal song. It's just the really kind of a hook in the chorus that he puts in there.
Yeah,
but lots of
he was such an awesome songwriter, man. You know, just the coolest. So what else we got?
Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you guys a question real quick. Have you guys heard of this European band called Avatar?
I don't think I have.
Not familiar.
The guy like paints his face kind of like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, he paints his face like but just check them out. They're not for everybody, but they got some real groovy riffs. I mean, they almost made my list. They have a song called "The Dirt I'm Buried In," and it's actually got a little bit of like a southern rock twang to it. But these guys are from Germany, so like they really throw you off. But if you guys get a chance, check out Avatar.
What's that called? The Dirt I'm Buried In. Yeah,
The Dirt I'm Buried In.
What about Josh? Well, Ron, you got any more honorable mentions, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, so like let me just go through my. Obviously, you guys had mentioned Black Sabbath, had them. Anthrax, Caught in a Mosh.
Yeah, no doubt.
You can't gotta leave Anthrax. Get them in there. I actually had Alice in Chains listed too. I mean, a lot of radio play, but Man in the Box is I actually probably in high school, if it had radio play, I didn't give it much respect. But Alice in Chains, when they opened for Pantera, like they got a little bit of cred with me. And so I dig Alice in Chains, and then also the Trooper, Iron Maiden. That was on my list as an honorable.
Josh, talking about grooving, man, how much did we get down to Jungle Rot back in the day?
Oh man, they were. So I had Jungle Rot and Devil Driver kind of like staggering on the edge down here because some of their stuff is just so groovy. Like I can't think about Jungle Rot without just going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you
can
name any of their songs and you're just like, man, you just want to groove to it. Same thing with Devil Driver. Like I hear, I Dreamed I Died, and I just want to start doing this like the Bushwhackers,
Yeah.
Well, this has been go ahead, Chris. I was just gonna wrap us up here, so land the plane. But what do you got, man?
You said Anthrax, and now my brain's going. How about the breakdown riff? And Matt will know exactly what I'm talking about. And Indians.
Oh yeah.
From that's just
the War Dance riff.
I was never huge into Anthrax. Never disliked them, but they were never my thing. But so whoever's still listening, man. I mean, the whole point of this, let's get your brain turning and start thinking about stuff you like, and get on Spotify, get on Amazon, start making lists, share them with your friends, get people turned on to this stuff, and. I've said it before and other things, like share your passion with somebody else. You never know where it'll lead them to. And
no doubt.
No
doubt. Well, Matt, why don't you just take us out here, man? Are you on socials? Like, how can people follow you? I know you're part of the band still, right?
Yeah. I'm on I guess Facebook, Instagram. Deceased and Nuclear Tomb are on Nuclear Tomb is pretty prominent on Instagram as far as like our singer does lots of updates. So we're doing some shows coming up in the end of the month here in DC, and then we're playing the Nuclear Tomb is playing the Rage of Armageddon Festival in New York City in Labor Day weekend on that Sunday. We'll be in the studio through the fall and weekends through the fall recording. I guess basically our second CD is coming out. I guess for fans of in the Slayer realm, Metallica, we all went to all of us band members. We all went to the Metallica show in DC a couple months ago, and was like we were like literally like this band wouldn't exist without Metallica. So,
real quick, what's your thoughts on them now? You think they're getting better? Or I think their last album's pretty raging.
I think it was good. The last record was was pretty solid. I think there's a couple songs I like off of it a lot, and off of Hardwired as well. And I think the live performance has improved. Honestly, I think Lars started actually practicing. You could tell he's not dropping, he's not dropping tempo as much. He's not trying to throw fills in to hide that he can't, keep the thrash beats going. I think the set list is mixed up really well. That they try to rotate in some deep cuts. They played Leper Messiah when we saw him, and Orion as well. So that was enough for me there. So Metallica, obviously not what it was. It'll never be like Seattle '89 again for them. But you got that history and as well. So
heck yeah. Well,
right on, man. Well, I appreciate you guys. Pour out a drink for Ozzy.
Yeah, definitely.
And, rest in peace. But what a night to plan to come on here and talk metal with you guys. Matt, appreciate you joining us. Hopefully, it was a great experience for you.
Yeah, it's really cool, for sure.
To the rest of you guys, if you, like Chris says, if you're out there listening, just know you got a spot at the table with us anytime. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about. We'll get into it.
Awesome.
Appreciate you guys.
Cool.
We're gonna
see you guys.
We'll take it from here.
See
you
y'all
next time.
All right, great. Thanks.